Okay, we've finally come to that point. We've done the engine bay, we've done the interior, we've done the trunk, we've done all the safety systems. Now it's time to get into doing the body work. So first let's look at what we're going to need. We've got paint thinner solvent here at the back, lots of tape measure so we can measure out things as we're doing it, sanding blocks of different kinds, and even some just straight foam that we can wrap sandpaper around for those tougher places. Back here we've got different levels of sandpaper. So we start at 320 and we go up to 600. Any coarser than that and you're either doing serious body work with body filler or you're going to leave damage on the site. One of the great little inventions we've got right here. It's a special rubber pad that I got from the auto body supply shop that takes decals off without damaging the surface underneath. And I've used it before and it's spectacular. As usual, a big stock of rags, a stiff brush, our sander, and a 3/8 drill, as well as this little gizmo, which is great for stripping off rust and other items like that. It attaches to the 3/8 drill and uses sanding pads to get rid of marks and to flush them down. So with the TR7, we're not going to need this one, and we won't need any real heavy sandpaper because we're not doing body work. We're going to be dealing with paint itself. So next let's take a look at the car now that we've got all these supplies. And speaking of the supplies, this is about a $50 expenditure on supplies in order to do it right before we get into the paint. What we need to do is prepare the surface and get it ready to take the paint. So one moment and we'll take a look at the body here on Real Builds. So this is what the TR7 looks like now that we've got it all cleaned up. And from here it doesn't look bad. But as we get closer, we're going to start to see the imperfections on the car. Now we'll start on the passenger side. It looks pretty good until you get right into here, where there's a little bit of rust bubbling already starting, so we need to deal with that. As we go down the passenger side, we'll see a few little marks that need to be dealt with, sanded out and cleaned up. And again, because of the age of the car, we see a lot of this, which is paint bubbling, and it's caused by the UV rays destroying the clear coat that went over top of it. But no body damage. As we look at the front end, we see the bumpers are in good shape, but do need a repaint. But we see the chipping on the headlights, and that's got to be sanded out, as well as on the vents for the hood. Now this satin black finish is not factory, and it's failed. And that's pretty much my fault. A number of years ago when I first got the car, there was a lot of paint bubbling on the hood and the trunk lid. So I decided to give it a paint. And I made the fatal mistake of getting in a rush and not doing the proper surface preparation. So now I've got to go back and fix the mess I created. Now on this side of the car, on the green, we get some of the same little bits of paint bubbling, but we also get a failure here where a large chip of paint fell out. Now that we're going to repair using touch-up paint, not a full paint, and a couple of masking techniques. All the small stripes you see need to come off. As we go back, we can see where the vinyl top has started to wear pretty bad. We need to deal with that. And the vinyl top in general has faded pretty bad over the years. Mind you, it's a 40-year-old car, so what can you expect? Again, as we look towards the back, overall it's in pretty good shape. So what we need to do is to get the surface, first come up with a design, which we're going to do this morning with masking tape, because we really don't need to paint much below the top stripe. Above that, the paint is in the worst shape, and again, a lot of that's my fault for getting in a rush and not doing a proper job on the satin finish the first time. And the trunk lid, we have some of the same problems. You can see where the paint's chipped. That's from improper surface preparation. We're going to show you how not to do that twice. And the rear bumper, again, good condition, but badly faded. Now yes, the tail lights have a couple of cracks in them, but they don't leak water or anything, so we're going to leave those alone. But the satin black on the back, which I didn't mess up, is the factory finish, and it's just tired. So we need to take a hard look at the design we want to go with. So we'll be doing that shortly, and we're going to do it in masking tape first so we can figure it out. Now the rest of the surface that needs prepped is what we call the base, or the substrate. Now this is where you need to spend time. All the little imperfections need dealt with, sanded out, if necessary primed, and prepared to take paint. If you take your time and you do a good job here, the paint job will look much better and it'll last well. If you rush, as I did when I put the flat black on, the satin black on, you end up with a problem. So we're going to get our stuff together and we're going to start to think about design. And I've thought about it a lot already because I want to see a really good finish on the car that's going to last a long time, not repeat the mistakes I've already made, and wind up with a pretty trick looking car. So we're going to do some planning. We're going to get on the internet, download some line drawings of the car, and then mask out the actual design that we want to use. So we'll be back here shortly on Real Builds. Okay, so while the family and I are masking, let's take a look at the design. We've followed the character lines on the bodywork to tape off for paint the black section that we're going to. The rest is going to remain green. Of course, the bumpers will be painted, and the vinyl top, and the back. So we've marked out the design in tape, and now we're going back using the same masking tape and masking all the edges, the windshield frame, and the other parts. That way, less cleanup, and we can do the painting quicker, which is always a good thing. Around front, you'll see how we've masked the signal lights, the front bumper trim, the small grille, and as we go around, you can see where we're masking, keep the black from getting anywhere we don't want it to go. The more time you take doing the masking, the better job you're going to get. Such as you see here on the taillights, where they're completely masked off and then trimmed, so that in the end we wind up with a really good product when we're done. So it doesn't cost a lot of money, but it does take a lot of time. So we're going to finish masking, the family and I, and then we'll move on to sanding. Okay, we've just gotten a little rain shower, so we've had to move the TR inside. But you can see we're at about the halfway point in doing our masking. You can see how things are getting masked off, like the windshield, the moldings. Anything we don't want black has got to be cleaned off and masked off, so that when the paint goes on, we don't end up with a mess. And masking is incredibly important. I can't stress that enough. The better the job you do, the better it's going to look. And even to the extent if you have vents on the hood, like the TR7, you need to mask the back side, because if you don't, you'll get black paint in that engine bay that we just cleaned up, and you can see how we did it here. Now for us, this was a family affair. As you saw, my son was helping, my wife, and many hands makes light work, and it's a lot of fun. We had a great couple hours here getting most of the masking done. We'll be back in a bit to finish off the rest. Here we are back on the TR7 project. Now, when we left, we were doing the masking. As you can see, we completed the masking, and masking is critical. The better a masking job you do, the better the final product's gonna turn out. So after masking, we then sanded the whole vehicle with 320 grit sandpaper, and the tough parts were the trunk lid and the front hood, and we had to use our electric sander in some portions there to get down far enough to remove the chips. Now we're real lucky, there's no body work per se on the TR7 project, but there was a tremendous amount of sanding. Once we had completely sanded all of the areas to be painted with 320, we washed it, chamoised it, went back and resanded it with 600 grit paper all the way through. And lastly, we went, washed it again, tack ragged, checked everything, checked our masking, made sure everything was right, and now we're painting it with a very well-known all-purpose rust paint. Now what's important is you take your time. There's lots of other videos out there on this, but I thought it was important you see we're really doing this here at Real Builds in the single car garage, so you can see what the final product looks like. So I'm going to leave you for now. We're just about finished the first coat. Once that's done, we'll be back to do a second coat, and we'll be back with you when it's time to pull the masking. Talk to you then from Real Builds. Okay, welcome back here on Real Builds. This is a quick look at the Triumph after the last coat of paint, undoing the damage I did a number of years ago. And the keys to getting a good job on this, again, preparation is huge. Followed by preparation, getting the substrate right, getting the base, in other words, right, sanded, smooth, all the little nicks and dings taken out. Is cleanliness. Now we've done our best. We're working in a single car garage. I wouldn't try this outside to save my life. It's just too darn hard, and that's how I made a mess the last time. So you can always borrow a shop. But this is what you get to see for now, right after the final coat went on, and it's looking pretty good. So just to prove, yes, you can do a good job. It takes a lot of work. We've probably put in this weekend 25-30 hours masking, sanding, cleaning, resanding, getting that base, that substrate correct, smooth, ready to take paint. And then the painting itself. And the last thing we'll be doing tonight is removing the masking. So you'll see the rest a little later on Real Builds. We've got a whole bunch of cleaning and such to do. In the meantime, you enjoy your weekend while we finish off ours and get to the point where we can move on to the performance segment of the TR7 build. Thanks again here on Real Builds. Okay, here we are back at Real Builds. The paint's got to the point where it's hard enough that we removed all the masking tape, but soft enough that it didn't hold the masking tape back. But now that it's all gone, look at that paint job. It's turned out really well. It's got a few little glitches we're going to have to take care of, but nothing dramatic. And it's turned out really well and will work exceptionally with the rest of the work we've done. Now the next step is going to be to get rid of these stripes. We're going to remove all the pinstripes. Should have done that before we did the paint, but we made a mistake. Now these decals are going to go as well. The Triumph and the TR7, they're just tired, they're finished, they need replaced. We're just going to remove them and not replace them. So right now we're going to dig out the tools and show you how to take them off here on Real Builds. Okay, now we're going to get into removing the pinstripes. Now, the best thing that I've found are these eraser pads. There's different brands. I picked up this new one from the local auto body supply company. And all you need to make it work is our 3/8 drill. So, we're going to open the package. Get out our decal removing pad. Our Smart Eraser, I guess, is the brand name. I'm using our 3/8 drill. And safety glasses or goggles. This is going to knock old decal all over the place, so you want to do this right. And now, we're going to remove them. Now you got to be careful because they can loosen up on you. Now, a clean rag. A little bit of dusting. And you can see how the eraser just removes those old decals. Now once you've got the whole decal removed, like so, all it takes, oh, we got a little bit more glue to get rid of. Now with the decal gone, we just take a little bit of rubbing compound or polish, give it a quick tidy up, and it's gone forever. The beauty of using the eraser is it doesn't damage the paint underneath. So we're going to finish up this part and let you continue doing the pinstripes on your project, and when we're all done, we'll be back here on Real Builds. Okay, so now we're into the final rounds with the body. We're going to finish removing the pinstripe. We're going to give the green paint a really good polish. We're going to clean everything up, but we're going to keep the machine back until we've finished all the work before we do the unveiling. So we're going to make you suffer a little bit and wait to see what the body looks like. But right now we're going to start to move on to the performance section. Now, with the body work done, you got to look at the amount of time it took. It burned up a whole weekend. This was a real busy weekend. Friday night, Saturday, Sunday into the evenings. And then you look at the results you got. It looks really good. And by the time we finish giving it a quick polish, it's going to look phenomenal. So we've created a real pretty little car. We need to look at what we did. Preparation is key. Things have to be clean. The base or substrate has to be properly prepared, sanded, and if necessary, primed, filled, sanded again. The better the work you do on the substrate, the base, the better the paint job's going to turn out. And follow the manufacturer's directions explicitly. They know how to make this stuff work. If you do what they recommend, chances are you're going to get a really good paint job. So we're going to keep going here at Real Builds, and we're going to move on to the first part of the performance section, and we'll be seeing you real soon when we unveil the car after we've finished the performance work. Thanks a lot here on Real Builds.